Yellow. Yellow, 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 yellow. So, lots of people say, or tell me that yellow's quite a hard colour to paint, and I agree it is. This little tutorial is pretty similar to the rust one. It's not for a clean finish or a clean look. This method only really works if you want a raggedy, wastelandy, haggard yellow, like on this row 5. Ooh, there goes a paintbrush on the floor. Oh well. Okay, so it only really works if you want something with a bit of texture to it, because if you watch my rust video, sorry, paintbrush up, or the cat will get it. If you watch my rust video before, you know, or you will know, that the technique I'm going to use here is exactly the same pretty much, give or take. You need a couple of different shades of yellow and a slightly different technique, but it's very similar, just to get the look that I've got here. And there's a lot of texture to it. It's not smooth. Scratch and sniff. It's not smooth at all. It's got a lot of texture to it. So if the item you're going to paint hasn't got really deep panel lines, you can lose some of the definition. And in some cases, especially with some of the newer Hot Wheels stuff, or some of the 90s Hot Wheels stuff where the panel lines aren't particularly deep in places, you lose it totally. So for example, on the edge of this is a corgi. Yeah, it is. You've lost some of the definition there, purely because the texture, the technique I use adds to it. But anyway, that's completed. This is some legs from Dust Mechanic Games. I've used some forceps to hold these because this is a little bit easier for me. But I'm going to be painting these yellow, and I'm going to show you how I do it. So I'll run through a couple of things I've got and what you need. So I use 2 different shades of yellow. I use these ones, Army Painters yellow, Demonic yellow and Moon Dust. It just needs to be a light yellow and a slightly brighter yellow. This is quite a washed out yellow, and this is slightly brighter. Okay, some sponge, a crappy paintbrush. Sorry about my position on the camera, because it's on my iPhone. I keep on forgetting where it is. I keep on thinking it's a proper camera. It's not there. So a crappy paintbrush with some haggard bristles. This is one of those. I think this is a. That's a Dalaroni. It's okay. It's a cheapish one. Obviously, what you're going to paint now. This is primed in black. Obviously, same as with the rust. You can prime in brown. I was having a conversation with Chad from Televised Carnage via message earlier on, and he was saying that he read somewhere that over pink works really, really well. So yellow over pink. I don't know if it's something to do with the pigmentation. It might be something I try, because I've got to paint a car pink later on anyway. So I might give it a go, and there might be a bit extra on the video. If I don't give it a go before I publish this video, then I might save it for next time. So yeah, this is all black at the moment. So I'm going to do, instead of the black, I'm going to start with the brightest shade of yellow. I'm going to water it down a slight amount as well, because I'm going to make two parters for this. So because this has got lots of creases and crevices, the sponge isn't going to fit in everywhere. So, and this is why it needs to be old and haggard. And this is the bit of painting yellow that always looks the worst. So anywhere there's a bend that I know the sponge isn't going to get, I'm just going to stipple, trying to get, especially around these little joints here. And you can do this with any colour. I've just painted a car red this afternoon in between this video, waiting for this primer to dry on the last video I did. And I use the sponge technique for that. In fact, most of my Gaslands cars, I use the sponge technique. So on these legs here, there's like a little hollowed bit, top and bottom. You also see I missed some primer, but it doesn't really matter. Not going to get the sponge in there either. Right. So, crappy sponge. forceps are not the best. They are the cheapest, nastiest forceps I could find. They're actually fishing forceps. Or I think they're called forceps in fishing. They're forceps to me. Hang on, so just change the grip on them. There we go. Now we try again, shall we? So I've just added a bit more yellow to my palette, and I've not watered it down purely because, you know, you can or you can't. So like before with my rust, I am literally hammering this everywhere. And any places that it won't reach, as long as it's not glaringly large areas, I'm not going to be that bothered with right now. Well, that's awkward. That's incredibly awkward. Well, we'll carry on. That's meant to be pretty good super glue I've used there as well. That's quite annoying. My super glue is bad. That's the second time that's happened. Maybe it's because I'm hammering the stippling. This needs to stand up to a bit of battering. Plus this model itself's got to travel to the other side of the world, nigh on from here, once it's finished. That's quite annoying. We'll continue on as if that never happened. It'll be fine. I promise that this will not fall apart again. So, first coat, I've just hammered it on everywhere. There's still loads of black showing through, which is what I want. Okay, you can see as well where I've just jammed something with a paintbrush. It's slightly thicker and it's got a slightly different texture to it in these areas here. I'll come back and rectify that once this coat of yellow is dried. You could just go straight over the top and do another pass with the same yellow, but I don't want to. Also need to fix this leg now. Handy that it snaps. So I fix this off camera, let it dry, and I'll pop back and we'll do the next bit of this little bit. All right, cool. So we'll pretend that this bit here never fell off, because that would just be easier. We'll just forget that happened. Okay, a good thing about this technique is that the paint dries really, really quick. Super glue, we'll go gently. It will dry, but I want to get this sorted, so I've got a little bit of time limit on this. So what I've done as well is I've ripped a couple of bits of sponge down, slightly thinner, and this one extremely thin. This is going to help me get into these grooves and these gaps. What I've also done by ripping the sponge down, so this is the surface I used just a second ago. See, the paint's still wet on the sponge, which is cool, but on the item it's dry. So you can see the texture is different. So I deliberately used this square side, which is still quite soft, whereas this side here, it's had paint's quite hard. When we do rust around doors and stuff like that, or we want a sharp edge on something. So say I was painting part of a vehicle, and then I wanted the line of paint to stop. Then I was painting one door yellow, for example. I was painting the whole car yellow, I was leaving a door black. Use the sharper edge where the paint's dried a bit more in it to make a stop line. So like cutting in. Does that make sense? My hands move a lot when I'm talking. Doesn't matter. So, paint my palette's dried as well. So this tiny bit of sponge here we're going to use to get into here where it was a bit rough. I'm going to go around again and I'm going to do another coat of this yellow. So again, just for reference, I'm using this Army Painter Demonic Yellow. I'm not going to water it down this bit, purely because I want a bit more coverage. I'm going to use this Haggerty edge. Now this is, well, it was like craft sponge. This bit might actually have been blister sponge from Games Workshop. I thought one of their blisters. So yeah, so you can get your sponge from anywhere. Sponge from anywhere. I've got a 1-year-old daughter, and I've got some of her old bath sponges because you really shouldn't keep them for too long with a little one. My missus is quite religious with getting rid of them once they come to the end of their life. I mean, I suppose that's handy. I'd probably keep using it for forever and ever if it was just for me. But on the little one, not so. I've swapped to a slightly bigger one now, so I managed to get into those grooves like I wanted. Now where there's shadow, I want to keep shadow. If this was pristine, and I still like a pristine surface, then it'd be a different matter. But it's not a pristine surface, it's meant to be out in the wasteland. So where there's shadow and the paint hasn't reached, I'm not really bothered if it doesn't reach there. Sorry, I'm all over the place with this. Hey James, why do you do these tutorials if you can't find the centre of the camera? You know, just because I can. You have to put up with me being me as well. When I did the first video, I wound my personality down as much as I could. And now, gradually through these videos, you're going to see me. Or hear me, because you're not really going to see me that often. No one needs that in their life. You're going to hear me become me slightly more. So I do talk to myself. I do funny little voices sometimes. Everyone's like that though, I think. It'd be a bit crap if you had no personality, wouldn't it? Even if it's a weird personality. So yeah, so the idea of this part of the paint job on these legs is to make it look a bit JCB like, which I think everyone's probably heard of JCB, or cat, which is more of an orangey yellow. I think anyway. I always think when I think of like a bright yellow, I think JCB. Here in the UK anyway. If you don't know what JCB is, then that's cool. So, like I said before, let me just, there we go. Just going round, getting a bit more coverage. Now, if it wasn't as awkward as this, I've deliberately given myself an awkward one. A, because it needs to be done, and B, because, you know, it'd be a bit boring if it was square surfaces. We wouldn't learn. I'm learning a bit as we go here, because obviously, like I say, should we get back in camera? Yeah, so you can see now it's got a second coat on. It's starting to even out my white balance on this iPhone. It's trying to compensate a bit more, trying to even the colour out. We're under daylight as well. I mean, as I always am. If you haven't seen the video of my little tour, I'm in my conservatory. I've had to shut the door though, because my daughter is very vocal today. My missus is looking after her in the living room. So if you hear like the odd "ah" in the background, that's just her. Nothing to panic about. She's been out in a little paddling pool this afternoon because it's been quite warm, so she's fairly excited. Bless her. Right. Again, because this is rough and ready and wastelandy, it's not got to look 100%, a million %. All you want is some texture to it. See the white camera's playing up now on this iPhone. 1 second. There we go. I'll just put paint on the screen. I don't know. So it's the auto gate on the. I suppose it has got an auto gate on one of these. It's trying to compensate for the yellow because it's trying to wash it out. But as you can see, the coverage is loads better. So what we've done there is we've still got all the black shadows and the areas of black, which I want, because those are the places where, if I can't reach it with this sponge, not just a bit that I want to get though, if I can't get it with this sponge, chances are that's where dirt's going to accumulate anyway. It's going to be stuck there. So it doesn't matter that I can't get paint on that area, because in my opinion, or in my mind, that mimics what it's like in real life. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to leave this to dry. When we come back in a minute, we're going to do a quick wash. When I laid out the products at the start, I totally forgot about the sepia wash. So I'll talk about that quickly. I'll do a quick sepia wash. Leave it to dry, and we'll repeat the steps as before. Cool. Oh. Okay, we're back. So this is now dried. As you can see what I was saying before, let me get a little bit closer. Ooh, there we go. We got some texture, we got some differences in shape and shadow, etc, etc, and etc, etc, etc. So no one piece is the same as the other, which is the whole point. I'm going to talk about wash quickly. When I did the rust video, I used like a sepia wash, Seraphim sepia from Civil. I think that's how you say it. You can use other washes. Now, the problem with this as well, with this tutorial sort of things, is I am by no means the best painter. And there was, I'll start again. JH Miniatures, James Hall was talking about on one of his recent videos about the April card of the month competition on Gaslands UK, and he did a bit of a shout out for me, which I didn't ask for, which was really good of him. And he was saying that I put out so many cars in such a short space of time, and that's purely because I've worked out over time, because I've been doing custom die-cast cars, I've been doing Gaslands cars for a couple of years now. I've worked out over time how to get a result that I want, and if it's not, this is the thing, if it's not the result I want, then I start again. I've got a box full of cars that are half painted or half built that I binned off because I didn't like them. So my rust technique took a little while to get how I like it, and this yellow's taken a little while to get how I like it. But it is by no means that me saying I'm the best at doing this. This is how it is. This is just the way I do it. And people have asked me, so hence the video. Like a little disclaimer there. If you don't like it and it's not the way you do it, you don't like the fact that I've got a dated palette and I've got a crappy brush and some manky old sponge and all my Citadel paints are in dropper bottles rather than your pots, etc., then you don't like it. I don't really mind. You do it your way and I do it my way, and this is the way I do it. So I just thought I'd put it out there. I'm not proclaiming to be any great expert in it. This is just the way I do it. So you got some choices anyway. Let's whack on from there. So if you wanted like if you wanted nearer to a brighter yellow, you could use something like this Gaming Amarillo Yellow, which doesn't really give you any shade. It will slightly on this because we've got some black shine still, but that's not the point. So the yellow washes out. The sepia is a bit too dark for what I want on this, in honesty, so that's out. Then I've got Army Shade Quick Shade Flesh Wash, which you can pretty much use on anything. It's another one of those things like non-oil from Citadel. It's like liquid talent in a bottle. You could use that, but I won't on this anyway. And then I've got this secret weapon, which is new to me, Armor Wash, which is wicked on like metallics. Really, really good and stuff like that. I've used it a couple of times and I quite like it. Now you could use it on this if you wanted more of a hard edge to the shading and the tonal difference. I think it's called tonal difference. Anyway, but I'm going to go probably out of all of them for Reikland Flesh Shade. I've got Agrex Earth Shade here as well. Citadel Reikland Flesh Shade. Now be careful with the Citadel stuff and with all these sort of washes, because Citadel, for example, the Games Workshop stuff, they do a gloss and a normal. I don't think I've got a gloss Reikland Flesh Shade, have I? Yes, I have. So if you want a shiny, which I don't, use the gloss. You want the matte, still good use for the gloss, okay? But I'm going to use the normal Reikland Flesh Shade, the matte. As you can see, I've used this quite a lot. It's normally either this or the sepia I use on the yellow. The Flesh Wash works really well as well, but like I say, this Reikland Flesh Shade is the one that I'm going to use on this. Let's find a clean bit. Let's use the one I use all my washes on, and a bit's gone on the table. What a surprise! So I'm going to wallop a load in there. I'm going to use the same cruddy brush I used before, because, you know, that's just me. I'm going to brush the wash over. Now, once this is dry, and I am looking like I'm ruining this already, but don't worry. It'll either be ruined, or we'll come and we'll learn from it, or we'll come back and it'll look less cruddy than it does. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to wallop the wash all over, and then I'm going to go back with a slightly damp brush, the same brush, and anywhere that I don't really want it to pull, I'm going to pick it up. To be honest, I don't mind where it pulls. It was a little bit damp, the yellow in there still, because I want it to have that slightly rusty, grubby yellow look to it, the same that's on that Renault 5 I showed you at the start. Yeah, as you can see, I've used nearly all the wash, because I've lobbed the load on there. Now when you come to like washes and they're expensive, and they are, and you want like a cheaper alternative, which comes into videos that I'll make a little bit further down the line, obviously, because we're only a few videos into these videos that I've been making. You can use inks, not inks. You can use oil paint to make your own washes. and then you can use like odorless white spirit to remove it again and mix them down. So I've got a load of art supplies made from other things, if that makes sense, rather than the specific products bought for it. So I've got oil paints in the drawer behind me that I use for washes sometimes. I've got chalk pastels that are more chalk than like a soft pastel you grind down to make powders with. So there's always alternatives to everything. As long as this, if you want to paint yellow in this way, black base coat with your choice of yellow, with a brown wash of some kind as your next step. And you can see what I'm saying about there's a bit here and a bit there. I'm not looking for equal coating on all surfaces on everything, okay, because that's just not fun. Where it will come out in the end, or where it will show at the end, is obviously with the dry brushing, etc. right at the end, which helps tone everything down and blend everything in. So the wash is bringing all that yellow together, and the black taking away some points. So you can see, for example, here I've got a high point there of yellow. So obviously surface-wise, that's slightly higher by fractions, microns, than the surface next to it. So the wash isn't sitting there. Doesn't bother me. That's fine by me. That's part of the look. It's part of the texture. That's part of it. And that's the whole point I'm trying to say with this, without babbling some more, is I'm trying to even it out as I go. Then obviously, after this is dry, I'm going to be sponging on a slightly lighter yellow. So I've almost gone the opposite way around. I've got a black base coat for shadow. Then I've got my sponged on yellow with texture. Then I've got my wash to even it out a little bit and add a bit more colour depth to it. I'm going to come back with the sponge and this lighter yellow, and we're going to sun bleach. I think that's the proper word. That'd be the word we'll use. I'm going to give the emphasis that some of this has been sun bleached. Then after that, we're going to use some weathering powders to bring it all together, and that's really it. So I'm going to stop here. This is going to dry. I'm going to have some dinner, which is like my third favourite thing eating. Fourth favourite thing? Fourth favourite thing. After painting and some other things. Yeah, and modelling and some other things. So yeah, we'll crack back on with this once this is dry, once I've had some food. Thank you. Are you going to do all the painting now, Piper? Probably better at than Daddy, let's be honest. Can I have a go? Want to paint this? Do you want to show everyone how to paint yellow? Yeah? Just going to show you all how to paint yellow. That's pretty much all you need to do, mate. Is just get some paint, jab it on a brush, and smush it into stuff. That's it. That's it. You're an expert. Internet expert. So now you have my secrets. I don't actually do the painting. It's my little expert. She does it for me. Now, jokes aside, when I came to edit this video, I realised it was going to be about 50 minutes long. So what I've done is I've split it into two. So this will be the end of part 1. Next video out will be part 2. Thank you very much for watching, everyone.